The Sculptor's Silent Shadow, a riveting mystery for mastering advanced English vocabulary. Hey everyone! Welcome back to Mumtahina's English Learning, your favorite place to practice and master English. If you are ready to take your English to the next level, hit that subscribe button and join our global community. Let's jump straight into today's video. The Sculptor's Silent Shadow. Rain descended upon Blackmere City with a relentless melancholy, drumming against the narrow cobblestone streets like the heartbeat of something ancient and forgotten. At the crest of Hollow Lane stood the abandoned studio of Julian Vane, the most enigmatic sculptor of his generation. For decades, Vane had transformed marble into living emotion. Critics described his work as transcendent, austere, and disturbingly intimate. His sculptures did not merely resemble people, they exposed them. Every flaw, every concealed terror, every ephemeral longing seemed imprisoned within the stone. And now he was dead. Inspector Elias Morcant stood before the iron gates of the studio, watching the shadows shift behind rain-fogged windows. The building itself appeared macabre, a decaying monument to obsession. Ivy strangled the stone walls, and fractured statues lingered in the courtyard like silent witnesses guarding unspeakable secrets. The constable beside him swallowed nervously. "They found him this morning," he whispered, collapsed beside his final sculpture. Elias nodded grimly and stepped inside. The atmosphere within the studio was suffocating. Dust floated through pale shafts of light, while unfinished sculptures loomed in the darkness like distorted apparitions. Some lacked faces, others possessed hands so lifelike they seemed capable of movement. At the center of the room stood Julian Vane's unfinished masterpiece, a towering plaster figure draped in cloth, and beneath it lay the sculptor's corpse. Julian's expression was frozen in terror. Elias crouched beside the body. Near the sculptor's outstretched hand was a small leather journal. Its final page contained only 3 trembling words. "The shadow watches still." A vestige of candle wax hardened beside the journal, suggesting Vane had worked deep into the night before his death. But something else caught Elias's attention. Words had been carved directly into the base of the unfinished sculpture. Not ordinary words, cryptic inscriptions. "What stands before thee is not the man, but the facade he fashions for lesser eyes." Elias narrowed his gaze. The sentence felt deliberate, not merely poetic, but diagnostic. The language carried precision, almost surgical in its intent, as though Vane had hidden clues within vocabulary itself. Over the following days, Elias immersed himself in the sculptor's diaries. Julian Vane had documented his thoughts obsessively, though the tone shifted drastically over time. At first, the entries were articulate and controlled. My patron remains eccentric but benevolent. His fascination with permanence mirrors my own artistic ambitions. Weeks later, the language darkened. There is something nebulous in his manner. His compliments possess an insidious quality, veiled beneath artificial civility. Elias paused. The distinction mattered. Nebulous suggested vagueness, uncertainty, something difficult to define. Insidious implied hidden danger. Vane had not simply feared someone. He had gradually recognized malevolence concealed beneath charm. Another entry read, "The studio has become austere, devoid of warmth or sanctuary. I sense an invisible spectator lingering behind every corridor." Elias underlined the word austere. Not abandoned, not empty, austere. The sculptor intentionally described the room as severe and oppressive rather than merely vacant. Every linguistic choice revealed psychological deterioration. As Elias continued reading, another pattern emerged. Julian repeatedly referenced someone he called the Silent Shadow. Never a name, never a direct accusation, only descriptions. His grandiosity eclipses reason. His praise conceals envy. He covets immortality through my hands. The inspector leaned back thoughtfully. Grandiosity. Not confidence, not arrogance. Grandiosity implied delusions of superiority, a pathological hunger for admiration. Elias suddenly realized the diaries were not random reflections. They were a psychological profile. and Julian Vane had embedded it within sophisticated language to ensure only a perceptive reader could understand. On the fourth evening, Elias returned alone to the studio. A violent storm rattled the windows, while candlelight flickered across unfinished marble faces. The atmosphere felt increasingly claustrophobic, as though the building itself resented intrusion. He approached the final sculpture once more. This time, he removed the cloth. The figure beneath was extraordinary, a man emerging from stone, his expression divided between serenity and anguish. One side of the face appeared noble and refined. The other was grotesquely hollow, like a fractured identity struggling to survive itself. Elias stared at the sculpture in stunned silence. Then he noticed another inscription hidden near the base. To sculpt the flesh is simple. To sculpt the facade is torment. A chill crept through him. Facade, again. The word appeared repeatedly throughout the diaries. Julian was obsessed with the concept of concealed identity. Someone in his life had presented a false self so convincingly that even the sculptor, a master observer of human expression, had initially failed to detect it. Elias examined the studio more carefully. Scattered pages covered a nearby table. Some contained sketches. Others listed strange idioms and fragmented phrases. Carving one's conscience into stone. Chasing immortality with bleeding hands. The artist becomes prisoner to his own masterpiece. These were not casual metaphors. They reflected obsession. The language hinted that the silent shadow believed art granted transcendence, escaped from mortality itself. Then Elias discovered a final page hidden beneath the sculpture's stand. Unlike the others, this inscription used archaic vocabulary. Mine reflection hath abandoned mercy, and in pursuit of eternal remembrance, I hath become the architect of mine own ruin. The syntax was fractured, unstable. The tonal shift was unmistakable. Julian's earlier entries had been coherent and analytical. These final writings spiraled into emotional disintegration. The archaic language suggested detachment from reality, as though the sculptor no longer recognized himself in ordinary speech. And then Elias understood. The silent shadow was not merely another person. It was duality, a divided identity. Julian had been sculpting someone he both admired and feared, someone who manipulated him psychologically while hiding behind cultivated elegance. Only one individual fit the profile. Lucien Devereux, Julian's wealthy patron, a philanthropist celebrated for his refinement, sophistication, and impeccable public image. But beneath that facade lurked pathological envy. Lucien could never create beauty himself, so he sought immortality by controlling those who could. Elias immediately ordered de Vera's arrest. When confronted, Lucien remained eerily composed. "You believe vocabulary solves murder?" he asked softly. "No," Elias replied, "but linguistic precision exposes motive." For the first time, Lucien's expression faltered. Elias continued. "You admired Julian's genius, yet despised your dependence upon it. Your grandiosity demanded recognition equal to his. When he threatened to expose your manipulation, you silenced him." Lucien's calm demeanor slowly deteriorated. "He was weak," he hissed. "Obsessed. Paranoid." "Not paranoid," Elias corrected. "Perceptive." The room fell silent. And in that silence, Lucien Devereux finally revealed the bitterness concealed beneath years of cultivated elegance. "I merely wished," he whispered, "to become unforgettable." Weeks later, the unfinished masterpiece was transferred to the Blackmere Museum of Fine Arts. Visitors stood before it in reverent silence, mesmerized by its haunting symbolism. Critics debated its meaning endlessly. Some believed it represented madness. Others claimed it explored vanity, identity, or mortality. But Inspector Elias Morcant understood the truth hidden within the stone. The sculpture was not merely art. It was a confession encoded through language. Every sophisticated word, ephemeral, austere, nebulous, facade, grandiosity, had functioned as a key within the labyrinth. Each subtle distinction carried psychological significance. Each linguistic nuance narrowed the path toward revelation. Julian Vane had understood something profound in his final days. Human beings rarely reveal themselves directly. Instead, they conceal their darkest intentions beneath carefully sculpted language, and only those who master the precision of words can uncover the silent shadows hiding behind a facade. Thank you so much for watching Mumtahina's English Learning. If this video helps you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Don't forget to write your practice sentences in the comments below. I love reading them. Keep practicing, stay confident, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye!